Well, great. Thanks for the video. I think it was wonderful, and I kind of simply loved the creative. And I also see a lot of action happening on the chat window. We'll like to see that coming in. So the question that we asked was, what was the first word that comes to your mind when you think about returning, right? And we see. Let me just go through it. Swati says hard work and dedication. Lovely. Uh, Chandrika has said challenge. We see other words. Just do it. I like that one. Uh, okay. Coming out of comfort zone, new beginnings, power, hope, new chapter. Passion is what drives a person. Great learning. Okay, so it can keep coming. Thank you so much for lovely thoughts from your end. My name is Bhavesh. I'm a part of the talent acquisition team at Aspire for Her, and I'd like to kind of wish you guys a very warm welcome and hope to see a lovely session in the next 60 minutes from the Adobe leaders. I am sure we have 74 participants, and I'm sure on a Friday evening we'll get many more participants because this is going to be a really wonderful session. Well, this is brought to you by Aspire for Her in partnership with our very esteemed partner Adobe. I would also like to kind of give you a quick brief about what we do at Aspire for Her. I mean, most of you, I'm sure, already know what we do, but for those who aren't aware of Aspire for Her, we are on a mission to get 1 million women into the workforce. And by virtue of having wonderful partners like Adobe, I'm sure that's going to be a pretty easy ask. So I'm not going to take a lot of time. We've got a lot of leaders from Aspire, from Adobe with us today, and I'll kind of quickly give a small introduction to them before I hand it over to Akansha, who's going to be the moderator for us today. So we have got Akansha Sharma, who's the talent partner. You could see her in the video. Thank you, Akansha, for helping us all through what we're doing here. We've got Maria Lena DePaul, who's a talent acquisition manager. You can ask her all the questions that you have with respect to starting a new chapter, a second innings for that matter. We've also got Harpreet Kaur, who's the head of leadership, university, sales, and corporate functions hiring. So you've got somebody who can absolutely make this story come live for each one of you who's looking to join a wonderful organization. We've got Charu as well, who's a part of the employer branding team. Thank you, Charu, for working with us very closely to make this happen. And last but not the least, we've got Tanya Kumari and Sheetal Malagi, who are examples of what She Sparks program can do for each one of you, right? We've got Tanya and Sheetal, both of them who joined Adobe as an intern, and now they are converted into a full-time employee. So you'll get to hear from all of them. So without taking any further time, I'll invite Akansha to come and take the center stage. So thank you so much once again for joining. Hope to see a wonderful session.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhavesh, for sharing this. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining for the webinar today. My name is Akansha, and I work as a talent partner with Adobe. And I have been with Adobe for past 3 years, and I'm fortunate enough to be part of SheSparks. So SheSparks. So it started in 2019, and this month is an amazing month for us because we will complete 5 years. So it's a huge milestone for us. And what's better way to celebrate this journey? So we thought we'll share all this with you and share our experience and journey, and so that you can restart your career again. Yes. So over the next hour, can you please put the PPT? Thank you. So over the next hour, we'll have an opportunity to know about SheSpark. Maria DePaul from our team will help you to understand how SheSpark evolved and what is the impact it has created for us. And as you see in the image, there's a fun fact for you. So we have used Firefly here. It's Adobe's own product, and I definitely recommend you to use it and make beautiful images out of it. And followed by that, there will be an amazing fireside chat with Harpreet. So she's a director talent acquisition and a staunch advocate for diversity and inclusion. So we'll get to know more about her, in this session. So please stay tuned. Followed by that, there will be inspiring success stories from our SheSpark intern, Tanya and Sheetal. So what's in it for you? So for this, we'll have a dedicated Q&A session where you can get to know about your questions and gain clarity about to restart your journey. So this 1 hour is all about empowering you. So please feel free to ask as many questions as you have. And there's a Q&A pod here where you can put your questions. Now, Without further ado, I would like to introduce Maria Lena DePaul. So Lena has 17 plus years of experience and has been associated with Adobe for the last 5 years. So she's the one who started SheSpark in 2019 at Adobe. So let's hear from Lena and know about it. Over to you, Lena.
Thank you, AK. Thank you for getting us started with a bang. And thank you, Aspire for her for also, setting this whole platform for us. Good evening, everyone. And honestly, it's very humbling and very, very gratifying to meet all of you. I'm Maria Lena De Paul, and I belong to Adobe. I've been with Adobe for the last 5 years, and SheSparks and I, both of us have the same age at Adobe or a stint with Adobe, right? And firstly, congratulations to each one of you, and kudos for making this choice to even get started. I know it's no big. It is not like a small little thing for any of you, right? There are a lot of fears and things like that. I've gone through it myself, right? And I will share that in a bit, right? What do I do at Adobe? I lead a team of very talented recruiters, okay, and they support consulting and the customer solutions at Adobe, and it's also called ACS. Right. And this business basically lives by the growth mindset, which Adobe supports heavily. Right. And my first line of purpose set for me when I joined in 2019 was to reach out to talented and determined women like you, right, who have career breaks. And, this very business team that I'm talking about, which is ACS, was the first to patronize Adobe's flagship program. And we call it She Spark. Right. And the name came by the product that we also have called Spark, right? And ever since this absolutely, looking back, we've grown bigger and better. And today we're at about 100 plus women that we've hired through this program. It's not a small number, right? And you can imagine, the kind of stories we would have woven from all of these powerful women that we've met, right? And I, being a mother of an 8-year-old terrific girl, right? And who said girl children are soft and mild? I was mistaken for sure, right? And I know that this tricky time comes, when you need to make a decision to take this break. And when we say break, it's not a holiday of sorts. It's a huge grind. We all know that, right? But it's a break from your professional career. And it's inevitable at times for us, right? And we still plunge in and sacrifice and take that on. And we battle a lot of fears, including myself. Will I be able to restart again? I'll be left behind when compared to my peers, etc. And this is what, data says as well. About 50% of us women leave our jobs to take care of our children, and only 27% of us return back to work, right? So what are we trying to do? We're hopefully embarking on a journey where this 27% firstly stay on in the workforce, and this number grows bigger, right? While we created opportunities for for women at Adobe, we hear so many powerful sentiments, right? A couple of women shared instances where their child has never seen them with a laptop, because ever since they're born, their mom's been with them all through, right? It might, resonate with a couple of you, right? And they're so proud about the fact that their mom comes home with a laptop, or they're wearing a badge, right? And they're sitting on calls and they can see their family members with a glee around them, watching their mother take that call, right? And talking to a couple of people at work and making tough decisions, etc. And will we always think that things might break? You'll still see your child wearing some mismatched clothes, uncombed hair, food not, getting done in time, but they still have that pride in their eyes for you, for everything that you do when you bounce back, right? So She Spark is basically a women returnee internship. It is designed to be 6 months in terms of duration, where we're focusing on upskilling women and providing them mentorship and scaling up women from their past experience. And not that all internships will lead to full-time opportunities at Adobe, but our main purpose is bigger, right? And our own data of survey shows that 90% of the women, hired at Adobe have relaunched their career in the industry. Okay, we're very proud of that. And it will be in line with what Aspire is going to do with what they want to do, right? And with all the mentorship and training that's given, about 87% have also gained new employable skills, right? So that is something that we want to do back in, into the community. That's what Adobe strives for, right? And I'd love for you to see this through the eyes of one of our sharpest leaders who is passionate about everything she does, from the people she works with, the business she supports, and the community that she feels for so dearly. She loves traveling, she loves food, and is someone who reeks of Adobe's values. She is vibrant, and you'll see that soon, and always cheerful and bright. You will hear a lot from Harpreet Kaur, the director at Adobe, and she leads talent acquisition for Adobe India. Harpreet, over to you.
Hi, Lena. Thank you so much. I hope I'm audible and visible.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I think it's still January, so it's okay to say Happy New Year to everybody. And a big kudos to the 96 participants who've made time for themselves today and for putting themselves on priority. So thank you for joining. I want to echo what Bhavesh said. I love the creatives as well. Lena, you and I look really cool on the creative and as in real life as well. Thank you for the platform. I aspire for her team. I really appreciate what you're doing for the community and bringing corporates and candidates who are seeking to come back is a huge act of service as well. So thank you for bringing that and making that a priority. Lena, you said a lot in my intro around energy, passion, and I think I drive it from the people around me, much like yourselves. I also feel when you said about your daughter that who said girl children can be timid and light to carry, you should meet my mother as well, who had a bit of a time raising me up. I'm really excited. I'm happy to share my story as well. And if there is any way in which today I can contribute and let people know. I think, you can have desires and wishes as individuals, but I think the journey gets much more fulfilling and enriching when you get an organization that also supports your vision and what you want to do, not just for the company and from a hiring lens perspective, but also, when you want to do things which are for community and for society. And I think Adobe is the best place to be when you look at diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I'm really happy to share a lot of stuff during the course of the next couple of minutes. I can see a lot of questions popping up, Lena. So maybe we'll take that at the end of the session. And everybody, please feel free to keep writing in your questions, and we assure you we'll respond to each and every one of them either through the session today or maybe after the program as well.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Harpreet. Harpreet, let's get started. What I've done is I've curated a couple of questions that will hopefully add a lot of value and hash out a lot of questions for the women on this call, right?
Okay.
But to begin with, I have some offhand questions as well.
Okay.
And they say that a lot of what you do today has something to do with what you would have thought of being as a child. So I'd love to know, what did you want to be as a child?
I think I'm very different from the Gen Z these days. I honestly didn't know what I wanted to be, but I had absolute clarity on what I didn't want to be. So I think what I really knew was, I think back in the days and, when my parents were probably children, I think the only options that were offered to women, and I come from a relatively conservative family background. I think what was available was you either do not work, or if you choose to work, the only profession at hand could be teaching. And I have full respect for people who are in the academic profession and teachers at large. My mother's, a retired school principal. My elder sister is a teacher. But I just felt that why is this the norm in my family? So I think I just decided very early on that I would not pursue teaching as a profession. And then I always thought I wanted to be a news reader or a radio jockey. And clearly you can see there was no direction. I didn't go to those lines. But yeah, those were two things that I just found being on the TV and everybody listening to me really attractive.
I see those streaks even now in your role. So I told you there's something definitely there. Okay. Right. So, while you spoke of your family, I'd love to know who's most influential as a person in your life, Harpreet.
Yeah, I probably twisted a little bit, Lena. I don't think influential, but I think inspiring. For me, I think my parents' journey has been very, very inspiring, both as individuals and as a couple. I think I've learned and benefited a lot from their life. Just the fact that they chose to study, put education first. Just the fact that they both decided to make careers for themselves, very competitive and aggressive careers with the government of India. The fact that they decided to raise two beautiful girls and give them, empower them to make life choices for themselves. I think they have been the most inspiring to me personally in my life. And I think closer, I think professionally, uh, I've been blessed with amazing managers and teams. So I think daily dose of inspiration happens through my team. And otherwise, I think I've just really been blessed with wonderful managers from whom I have learned a lot. So yeah, a big shout out to all my managers who hopefully are watching today.
I'll tell them for sure, Harpreet. Well, also, are you a very superstitious person? And if yes, what are you most superstitious about? Anything?
Yeah, I'm fully Indian in that sense. I'm
Okay.
super superstitious, right? So, right from sneezing to a black cat crossing the path, like everything, I can be superstitious about everything. But I have a funny one, which is a family superstition actually. We don't start anything new in my family at quarter past the hour. So it's
Okay.
kind of strange. We don't start anything new at that time. I have no awareness of what will happen if we start something at that time. I don't know if something goes wrong really, but it's just a superstition. And I don't think superstitions have rationale and logic. So yeah, that's a superstition, which is my family is unique. Unique
Okay.
superstition.
I've never heard of this one, but okay. All right. Right. So, Harpreet, I'd love to kind of, address certain things. You being a leader, and I know that you embody a lot of Adobe's values, especially you champion DEI very, very closely to your heart, right? What is Adobe's commitment to its diversity, and how have we evolved over the years?
Mhm.
Can you also tell us a couple of key milestones that you've witnessed as a leader through your stint? You've been here for about 5 years too,
Yeah.
right? And some initiatives and programs that we run to kind of really hold this on.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about Adobe, Lena, that while we're a company which is 40-year-old, right? We've just celebrated 40 years last year. We're 25 year in the country, in India, right? I think we don't look at culture or diversity, equity, and inclusion as static. It's an ever-evolving space, and one needs to be in tune and in line with changing trends, be accepting of changing dynamics of society and region as well, right? So a lot of that has happened at Adobe. So while at an organization we went through a refresh of our values after 40 years, we looked at what stands true for us through these 40 years, which is our genuinity as a company and as people, but also what's going to take us to the next decade and to the next 40 maybe. And that looked like more about, creating the future and really owning the outcomes and raising the bar with every tech trend that we sort of tend to launch or tend to take leadership in. On the diversity, equity, and inclusion side also, I think we've made considerable progress. Our diversity, equity, and inclusion philosophy rests under the Uber umbrella of Adobe for All. It's a simple three-word Adobe for All philosophy that guides all the 30,000 employees of Adobe across regions, across countries. And it further has three key pillars of workplace, workforce, and ecosystem. Because we strongly believe that it's not about just doing the right thing on hiring or just doing the right thing on building, an infrastructure which is inclusive. It's also doing the right thing and being the leader and paving the way on what can you do for community, for society, and for as a corporate citizen as well. So a lot of those things have happened, and I can take the full hour to share some of those elements. But I think broadly, if I tell you, for example, most of our leader roles. And I can share data around 2022 because 2023 data is yet to be published for Adobe right now. 30% of our leadership roles, which is director and above, are actually do have representation of women leaders, right? 5 consecutive years globally of gender pay parity. Those are some examples where there is a lot of effort that happens and a lot of conscious, intentional actions need to be taken to stick to them consistently, much like what we've done with SheSparks, Lena. It started in 2019, could have been a program which was started and can be discontinued. But I think the commitment of Adobe to diversity, equity, and inclusion can be seen in such trends. You asked about, what are some of the initiatives that are probably new and evolving. I think while we continue to have our focus and priority around women across the board, right from campus when we run a program called She Codes, when we run something for women returnees, which is She Sparks, we also are trying to see and invite, specifically in India, a more diverse workforce as well. So about 18 to 24 months ago, we launched our first campaigns on inviting persons with disability. So we launched our accessibility hiring program, which is basically for students and individuals who have any form of disability and are looking for a career opportunity, and Adobe is absolutely welcoming them. Similarly, we did invite folks who identify as part of the LGBTQIA community, and we launched our BU program, which really celebrates identity. Just be yourself. And we are happy to invite your genuine, authentic self to Adobe. So I think these 2 programs are sort of a reflection of how Adobe evolves, how Adobe accepts and how Adobe acknowledges what's happening in the community and how our organization needs to boast of that as well. I think what's the last bit that I want to talk about is product accessibility as well.
Yeah.
As a tech organization, it's very important that every time we're launching a new feature, we're looking at a new product, we always operate with the lens of how is it going to be accessible to people with a disability, or how is it representing different kinds of backgrounds, different kinds of identities. So I think with Adobe, the impetus is on not just the foundation of Adobe for all, but constantly evolving it as well.
Right. It's very, very, it's so well thought out to support every given element. Harpreet, I agree with you. And, what kind of support systems are in place since we kind of, hold the flag up high on all of these aspects? What's the kind of support system that we built around with Adobe in terms of flexible work arrangements, etc.?
Yeah.
Can you comment on that?
Yeah, so I think very few organizations publish their benefits on an open platform. And if anybody types adobe.com/benefits, you will be able to see all benefits that are offered. But I think just to highlight a few in the context of this audience particularly. So of course, we have the maternity, a leave policy available. We also do have childcare facility, which is at defined, tie-ups that Adobe has with external vendors. We do have same-sex partner, benefits also, insurance benefits also, and coverage. We also do support parents of, same-sex, spouse benefits as well. So there's a lot that happens in terms of benefits as well. And I think they're constantly getting evolved as well. Like, how does it become more inclusive in nature? So a lot of that action is actually, happening on the ground at the moment. From a remote and hybrid perspective, Lena, our work, work arrangement is hybrid right now. So there are of course requirements to be in office to facilitate collaboration and ideation, but the company does, look at this on a case-by-case basis if there is a requirement. But the predominant arrangement is hybrid. So you can choose to, be in office a certain number of days and operate from home a certain number of days. Depending on the role types, very few of our businesses are also remote, but that's really dependent upon which business unit are you interested in applying to, and that's not something that's available for all roles or teams as well.
Right. Right. Wonderful. Thank you. I'm sure when we kind of cater to so many ranges of people and things that we support, Harpreet, we do stumble around challenges, right? And what are those challenges that you faced in promoting diversity and inclusion, and how have you overcome them as a leader?
I think one, I think assume good intent with everybody. I think that's been my life philosophy. I think as long as nobody's coming from a bad place of not wanting to do it, maybe they do not understand the reasoning behind it, and hence, it needs a little bit of conversation, right? We do experience some fixed mindsets at times, and of course, it's a dialogue which is probably driven by data also, which helps us cover some of those mindsets. I think what's also important to realize is that one size doesn't fit all. So if we're expecting that, a certain kind of diverse background, not just women, but otherwise as well, can be recruited, hired, or grown in a particular kind of role type, maybe that is not possible in the current scheme of things, right? So I think also understanding it from a business lens and marrying those priorities together is very, very important. And I think that's what's worked for us mostly whenever we've encountered a fixed mindset. I think lead with data, lead with rationale, lead with success stories, and try and get sponsors, try and get allies on your journey of building more diverse workforces. And it should be a much more simpler ride with all leaders then.
I completely agree with you. I mean, sponsorship, I mean, people backing you up is the biggest deal, right? I mean,
Right.
it's so true.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Harpreet, finally, I'd love to hear some advice that you would give women here on this very, very call, and anybody listening, right? And who are also seeking to rebuild their career. Something that a lot of us women also experience, right, is how to politely decline growth per another person's scale, or any other advice that you may have as well. I'd love to hear from you.
Saying yes is so easy, Lina. Right? And saying no is so tough, right? And being respectful for any men who are on the call. But I think women tend to find it even more challenging to say no, right? I was interestingly in a program this year, which is the Leadership Circles program at Adobe, which is for internal women employees. And one session that we had over the course of about 3 hours was, literally called owning your no, right? So how do you own your no, right? I think it's going to be much more simpler for you to politely decline and to say no when you are clear and you're able to communicate effectively. What are you saying yes to? As long as you're able to articulate your focus areas, you're able to articulate your vision, and you're able to articulate what do you gain from saying yes to the things that you are, and why do you not want to say no, and why do you want to say no to the things that you are? I think it's going to be so much more powerful. So I think every time you need to say no, one, do not jump into saying no or yes. Always sit down, take time, buy time from whomever you're dealing with, right? Sit down and draft your own vision and your focus areas, and then the goals to get you to those, vision statements. And then go back to the person and say if it's aligned or not aligned to those focus areas. And I think it'll be much more simpler. But I think the art of saying no is something that comes to you with practice. So at times, don't hesitate to even make your family your guinea pig, but role play it out. Like I do that. I was recently offered a very exciting opportunity, which was really, really cool. But I just thought that I didn't have the capacity and I would not be able to do justice at this moment because of competing priorities. So I just sat down, I figured out what my focus area for the next 18 to 24 months was, and I just relayed that to the leader who was offering me that opportunity. So I think just being very clear in your head and articulating that equally clearly outside is the way to say no. And one should never hesitate to say no as well.
Absolutely. I shall practice that, Harpreet. Thank you very much, of sharing really valuable information. I'm sure a lot of us would have benefited from it, right? And all of y'all, if you need more inspiration, we have 2 other women as well who are women returnees, who were with Adobe, right? Just to also add to what Harpreet said, they've lived it, right? And they'd like to share their experience with us. They've lived the Adobe life. And I'd like to call upon Sheetal Malagi, our senior data architect, okay, with the consulting business of Adobe. And she's been with us for the last 4.5 years. She was the alpha of the first team that we hired, in 2019/20 during the 6 month of internship. And she's still with us. She's grown leaps in her role and as a person as well. And over to you, Sheetal.
Thank you, Maria, and such a great fireside chat with Harpreet. Learned so much today already. So thank you for having me. Hello, ladies. It's such an opportunity that I wanted to talk to you about my experience so far, how it has been since the day I joined Adobe. So like most of you, I think my break was due to the birth of my daughter. So essentially childcare. So the idea was that I take a break for about a couple of years and get back to work. But as you know, it's just not as simple as that sounds. And so I ended up trying for new jobs for about a couple of months, 6 months or so. And then when it didn't go well, the way through the usual route, I thought of doing some courses. So that's when I came upon a course from IMB called as Business Analytics and Intelligence. And since I am from a data warehouse and a business intelligence background, it fit me. So luckily I got through that course and I completed it. It was a year-long course. After that, I was offered a research assistant role. And then that was a very good experience for me. I worked with the professor for about 3 years. So in fact, it helped me in a couple of ways. First of all, for me to start working, and also for my daughter to get used to me not being around for a couple of hours. And it was like a part-time job for me. So it was win-win. So it helped me a lot in learning and also to get confidence in myself. And around at the same time, it was my ex-colleague who was working here at Adobe. He referred me to this program called as SheSparks. And it was way back in 2019. And it was then that this was the pilot program that was launched. And I went through the interview. It was a very good experience. And so it was a 6-month-long internship. With the first 3 months was very hectic in the sense learning the ropes. It was a lot of technical trainings. And I had a mentor who would support me, help me in understanding the tools and the applications. And then I also started shadowing in the projects, etc. And apart from that, Adobe had arranged some soft skill trainings, etc., which helped us, all the women, to gain that sort of experience and help us in our consulting roles. And then we also had some leadership connects. So this was one other very good experience that I had, is that, every week, in fact, a weekly lunch, we all ladies would have lunch with some senior leader who would tell us about their job, their domain, and they would also get to know us. So it was one way for us to learn about Adobe ecosystem and where we fit in the whole ACS scheme of things. So it was a very quick 6-month experience for me, and made a lot of friends, and the team was very welcoming. The managers were very, very supportive of us. And at the end of it, I was offered a full-time role. So I joined as data architect after my 6-month internship. And then I'm very happy to say that last year I got promoted to senior data architect as well. So it has been an amazing experience. And what better company to restart my career than Adobe. And as you heard how much Adobe is so employee friendly. So during my course here, I've been part of many other initiatives, Women in Technology, for example. So they always invest in our growth. and the leadership wants to see women come on top. And so I would like to end this with sort of my key takeaways from my experience so far. Is that always keep learning, and I see in the chat that so many of you have been doing a lot of courses. You should upskill yourself, be updated, and this will also show how serious you are about your career to your prospect employer. And the other one is to be in touch with your ex-colleagues, ex-employers. They are the ones who know you well. And for me, that in fact helped me so much, because my ex-colleague had more confidence in me that I was best fit for this role. So he championed for me here. So it's very important to network and be in touch. And one other thing is that I came back after a break of 9 years. So I see some women asking such questions as well. So what I see is that whatever experience I had gained, whatever knowledge I had, they were not gone for waste. It came back to me when I needed them. So it's never that you forget whatever you have learned so far. So it's always there with you, and it instilled confidence in me, and it was sort of a self-discovery thing for me that that I still do remember some of the old ones as well. So have faith in yourself, and I wish you good luck, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheetal. I'm very proud of what you've done, and the fact that you're still here, and you have a lot more to learn and a lot more to experience. Thank you very much. I'd like to call upon Tanya. Tanya, can you come on?
Yeah. Hi,
Okay.
Lena, and hi to all the ladies.
So, Tanya,
I thank Adobe
let
for.
me introduce you, Tanya.
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
Right. So Tanya is a project manager with the ACS team, and she's also a successful trailblazer who has experienced all phases navigating code to homemaker and to also steering her team, right? So we'll hear from her directly. Thank you, Tanya. Go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Lena. And thanks to Adobe for giving this opportunity for sharing my experience. I completely echo with Sheetal, and I would not repeat those things. They have been the same experiences. And my break was a conscious decision to balance between family and work to give justice to both of them. So during my break, I raised a national player and a toddler and an independent toddler. So that was it. But yes, I would also like to stress that believe in yourself, believe in your experiences in your past organizations. We worked for premier organizations, and that experiences did count. And with Adobe, I can assure you this is one organization that respects your experiences, your career break. It is unlike other organizations, and there are lots of people to help you. When I decided to rejoin, I also went through some of the certifications that are necessary to rebrush yourself, so that when you are in an organization, you are comfortable. There are mentors over here, there are various programs, but one thing I would like to request you all, it's you who has to take one step ahead. People are there to help you out, and I would say just believe in yourself, have confidence, raise your bar, and take a step ahead. I'm sure you'll be very, very successful. Thank you. That's from my end. Lena, I would like you to give more highlight about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Akanksha, I think you should take that over.
Yeah, sure,
Okay,
sure,
we
Lena.
can move into, I can see a lot of questions. We'll try and see what we could answer on the chat, but please go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Reena. Thank you so much, Sheetal and Tanya, for sharing your journeys with us. And I'm very sure audience would have learned a lot about, and they can definitely implement your learnings to their current scenarios. So now, what's Preeti? Can you please share the PPT? Yeah, thank you. So what's in the store for you So it's time for opportunities. So under SheSpark, we have a lot of opportunities right now. So on the screen, you can see we have opportunities for project managers, business consultants, PHP developers, SQL developers, Adobe specialists. So as Lena told, initially she mentioned about Adobe Customer Solutions. So these roles are under this team, and we are getting a lot of questions about what is the criteria for this internship. So I have mentioned the criteria. You need to have 2 years of relevant prior work experience with 1 year of continuous break. So this will be the criteria. And even if you have a break of, let's say, 11 years, 10 years, 13 years, that would be okay, no problem. And it is like, but you should have a relevant work experience of 2 years. Yeah, and if you're interested in these opportunities, so AFH team has shared the links with you. So please go ahead and apply on them, and we'll definitely screen your applications. And as we approach the end of this webinar, let's open the floor for questions. I see a lot of questions are floating around. So I'll take the questions. So I'll start taking the questions. So let's see what questions do we have. Yeah, so I see a lot of question about what is the process, eligibility. So there's a question for, is this program meant to be only for tech people, or it is open even for non-tech? So I would, invite my panelists to take this question. Over to you.
Okay, so I also answered this on the chat. Basically, the kind of fundamentals is it's a techno-functional role in most cases, because we support consulting, primarily as well alongside engineering. So in both of these instances, you need a baseline of some amount of tech skills for certain roles. There are roles like business consulting, which will have, relevant experience in that particular field. Either you're a business analyst, or you've done some amount of data analysis earlier and things like that, right? So that being said, or project managers for that matter, you need certain PMP certifications in that given field. So there are roles that are arranged this way, but it is techno-functional in all probability and very relative to the role of the business that you would support. Okay. And yes, there's a question on QA. Yes, we do have QA roles as well. These are some of the roles that we have. So in terms of the process that you could apply, I think Akanksha has told you, it is a 6-month internship. That is the duration of your learning as well. You will be trained, enabled in the first 2 months of your internship, and you have coaching and mentorship provided to you all along those 6 months with your managers that you will work with. Right. You will also have evaluations throughout that 6 months at 2 given junctions of your internship. One at the first 3rd month, and at the end of the 6 months, you will be evaluated and shared feedback and opportunity areas that you could work on. So remember, this was more to kind of get you back into the workforce. So anything that will help you, you'll be armed with, right? Harpreet, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, just this one bit, Lena, that this is a program that lasts over the course of years and months for us, right? So the list of roles actually keeps getting refreshed, right? There are newer roles added, some would get filled, right? So the best way to keep a track is to also keep checking the Adobe, career page for any fresh openings. For example, you might not see a lot of non-tech roles published right now, but that could be a factor that we do not have like relevant openings at this moment. But maybe another 2 months down the line, 3 months down the line, there could be a development and we could post those as well. So I'd encourage you all to keep a check on the Adobe career page as well, because the most recent openings you will tend to find there.
Yep.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing this. So I will take another question. Deepa has written, I am a PHP developer with 13 years of experience and I am on a 5 years of break. I'm outside India. Will I get the opportunity for SheSpark program?
Right. Harpreet, do you want to take that or should I?
Go ahead, Lena. I'll add in case there's something.
Sure. All right. So, in terms of all of the criteria, mentioned by Deepa, we're happy to, consider, just for the fact that if you're intending for your internship to be based outside of India, Unfortunately not. We can't support that because your teams that we're hiring for are based in India, and your best learning will happen when you're with your team, considering you're launching your career back again. But Harpreet, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, and I see a lot of questions around different locations. So I think at the moment, these opportunities need to be based in office. And our two primary, locations are Bangalore and Noida in India. So the expectation would be that you are at least operating in a hybrid environment from these cities.
Yes.
So right now, there is no remote option available, and definitely in country only.
Yes. Absolutely. And there are candidates, not candidates, there are people on the chat asking you specific, with their specific experience, am I eligible? If you don't see yourself fit for the roles that are published either on AFH or on Adobe, feel free to write to any of us through LinkedIn. We will, keep in touch with you, and we'll ensure that when we have something relevant, we can always get back to you. So feel free to do that and connect with us. Even if there was somebody asking me if I only have a 7-month break, what do I do? Just get in touch with us. We can chat. Okay, we'll figure what we could do in time. Yeah. Any other question, AK, that we have time to take? Or
Yes, we do have, Leena. So we have one question. How can one prepare for selection in SheSparks program?
Okay, Happy, I'd love for you to answer that if you could.
Yeah, I think first, I think, again, lead with confidence, right? Like Sheetal and Tanya, the two real experiences that you heard of, right? I think definitely there is an experience that you've had which has added value to your resume and to your experiences as well. So highlight those. Any achievements and accomplishments that you had at that time. Obviously, lead with that. But also what's going to be important is that are you staying relevant in terms of changing trends around technology or around, if you're in the non-tech side, around how the market is changing, how the market is evolving. I think it's very important that you keep yourself a little relevant by upskilling or reskilling yourselves on the latest that's happening. There's a lot of curriculum that is available by not just the edtech companies, but even if you go to Adobe Experience Lead, you'll see a lot of programs that are a lot of curriculum that is published, and you can read through, work on that as well. So it's good to reskill and upskill yourself as well through some of these facilities that are available. I think also do not be apologetic about the break. Right. I think that's also very important. It is a break that was taken for some reason, right? Which could be, which is very personal to you. So I don't think you should be apologetic about it. Make this about your work. Make this about also what you're bringing to the table rather than what you do not know. I think it's a careful skill that can be learned and practiced that the interviewer can steer the conversation in the direction they want to take to, or you can take that ownership in your hand. So lead with that would be my recommendation.
Absolutely.
Leena,
Harpreet, one of the elements that we try and test even in our discussions, right? We never find an apple to apple, fit. So don't focus on the fact that it's an apple to apple need from your skill to the role that's published. If you have the faith that you've been able to learn something new in the break that you've had, that means you've been able to teach yourself something new. You have the ability to learn something. That's something you should be discussing. The zeal that you have, which can clearly, come out in your interview. You cannot hide that. So those are the some things that are important for you to work on. So if you've determined to come back, make sure that you have it all together in that interview, or in those discussions. I think that's the prep you need, and continue to learn. There are things that are changing every single day, and we have the ability of getting every given information on a click of a button. So if you made the effort, I think that speaks volumes about your desire to come back. So I think that's something that's very key as well.
Leena, if I may add, I remember this one conversation internally in an employee town hall where we were all encouraged that instead of looking for the word fit everywhere, let's look at ads. What do you add to our culture? What do you add to our team? What do you add to, a skill probably we were missing, right? So I think that's how we operate now. And that's how I would encourage if you're applying for any role under the SheSparks program, tell with confidence on what you bring to the table.
Absolutely. Great.
Thank you.
Okay, were there any other questions that were different from what we've covered?
Yeah, so there's one more interesting question. I'll take it as the last question, Lena. Are we open to women returnees who are trying to change their career path?
Okay. But it'll be helpful to understand from what point to the other, right? So like I said, if there's some amount of transferable skills that we're looking at, right? To what Harpreet said about what can you add? If there is if there's a lot of gap, and not for anything else, because we need to set you up for success, right? If you see that kind of a correlation of your learning versus what you've had in the past, I think it's good to have a discussion with us. It's not an absolute no, but it cannot be like a complete tangent. There should definitely be some amount of a transferable skill that you can bring to the role, just to ease you out, because that 6 months is a determining time for you. So it shouldn't be a completely new angle altogether.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Lena, for sharing this. So in between, I saw a message regarding the roles. So I would recommend AFH team to please share the roles again with the people, and they can definitely apply on those opportunities. And
Sure.
to our audience, thank you everyone for being such a lovely audience. And as we spoke about new beginnings in the initially, so I would recommend, please keep the spark ignited in you. Please come back, and we'll definitely have a chat over coffee, and we'll definitely discuss the opportunities that are available at Adobe. And I hand it over to Preeti now.
Thank you so much, Akansha, and thank you to our esteemed speakers. Hello, everyone. A lot of you may know me. I'm Preeti Bhaskaran, Lead Corporate Partnerships and Marketing Lead at Aspire for Her. Before we close the session, we have a couple of poll questions coming up, requesting all of you to participate and requesting Farisha to please launch the poll. So we would like to know, why is it that you would want to apply to Adobe? Is it because, Adobe is a great place to work for, which we have seen in today's session after hearing, from all the esteemed speakers here? Is it because the role suits your skills? Is it because the benefits are great? Or you may have been inspired by the SheSparks interns? The other question is about the key takeaways for you from this session. Obviously, because of the Adobe culture and all the benefits that you heard that Adobe offers to its employees, you may have had some questions that you had and some doubts that got cleared today. So you want to apply for sure. You have been inspired by the journeys of the SheSparks interns, or is it all of the above? Requesting all of you to participate. We'll keep it open for a few more seconds. So it's great to see a lot of you, in terms of the key takeaways, have mentioned that it's all of the above. Thank you so much. And, of course, I mean, it goes without saying that, one of the key takeaways is also that Adobe is a great place to work for. And that's one of the major reasons why you would like to apply to Adobe. Thank you so much. I think, Farisha, we can close the poll. Thank you, all of you, for participating. Thank you so much, Harpreet, Leena, Tanya, Sheetal, and Akansha for such an insightful and informative session. I'm sure that this session will definitely, help the community in terms of gaining a lot of confidence on the prerequisites of the program, why they should apply, about Adobe culture, and also, it's hardly a surprise that, Adobe has won so many awards in terms of whether it's the Fortune 100 best companies to work for in 2023, or it's, the 100 best workplaces for women in 2023. And it's always so inspiring to hear Adobe employees talk about the organization and their amazing journeys at Adobe. And I'm sure that post this session, we have already received a lot of applications, but you will surely see more applications flowing in after this session. Thank you so much for all those insights. And thank you to the entire Adobe team, including Charu, Akshara, Latish, for working along with us in bringing this event to fruition. And thank you to the entire Aspire for Her team as well who worked on this. Thank you, each one of you, for joining in today. We hope that all of you are really excited about the SheSparks program and have your questions answered and doubts cleared. We could not, obviously take all questions in the interest of time. So we will surely share your questions, with the Adobe team, and we will get back to you on an email communication. You can still write into us if you have any questions that you need answered, before you apply. Earlier, the last date for application was actually 12th of January, which is today, but we will be keeping the applications open for a few more days, and hoping that all of you apply immediately after this session if you haven't applied already. And we will see you soon with another event. Have a great evening, all of you. Thank you. Thank you so much.